In January, the new Arizona Bruisers roller derby team did their first public scrimmage outside of AZRD. Check out Tia, Ms. Nashty, and my favorite, Redhead Revolver, as they take on Dirty Terry, Cheap Ore, and the rest of the Tucson roller derby Copper Queens. January 19th, on an afternoon at Casey at the Bat, history was about to be made as for the first time, Arizona Bruisers roller derby, operating under their new LLC, skated for the first time without being under the banner of AZRD. This was a scrimmage bout between the Arizona Bruisers and the Copper Queens from Tucson roller derby. While the Copper Queens brought up a short roster, the Tucson fans who made the road trip definitely compensated for that. Even Madeline Bootyfly from the Tucson Skater Tots program made it up here, and she's wearing Bruiser red. This game was a dress scrimmage for two 30-minute periods, which is the format currently used by Tucson and will eventually be used by the Arizona Bruisers. The first jam pits the Copper Queens Cheap Ore against Helen Wheels of the Bruisers. Both jammers eventually break, but neither one leads. With a full 2 minutes, Cheap Ore was able to lap the pack 2 more times for 8 points. As the scrimmage goes on, the Copper Queens hold the lead, but the Bruisers don't stay that far behind. In this jam, the Bruisers' Ginger Vicious tries to break through without much luck. Later in the jam, she tries again and still makes her way to the ground, but Ginger's not giving up. The third time was a charm with a little help from Chichironi. Ginger breaks and makes lead and promptly calls it off. Copper Queens ahead 11-9. There's Cookie Cutter getting whipped into a lead jam. Now check out the scoreboard. Notice something? They're stopping the game clock between each jam. While done at Arizona Derby Dames, that is not done in WIFTA rules. The scoreboard operators eventually advised of this. There's Cheap Ore with the lead jam. In this jam, Cheap Ore just sneaks right out by Redhead Revolver and Tia. With 10 minutes remaining in the period, the Queens lead by only 4 points. Redhead Revolver tries to whip Bruiser jammer Helen Wheels through, but Dirty Terry is right there. Ouch! In this jam, with the Bruisers only down by 2, Cookie Cutter takes lead jam and is able to outscore K-Boom. For the first time today, we have a Bruiser lead, 36-34. With 5 minutes remaining and Cheap Ore already breaking but not lead, Bad Betty was having difficulty with the Copper Queen blockers. In the meantime, Cheap Ore goes for 4 and then 8. While going for 12, the whistle blows the end of the jam, but she manages to get 10. Copper Queens back up again, 44-40. In the final jam of the half, watch the Bruisers Mink Stole, number 13, as she really works solo jammer K-Boom. Then Tia wants some fun too. Helen Wheels comes out of the box and picks up the lead jam. The half ends with Copper Queens ahead 48-43. Due to the scoreboard issues in the first half and due to a time constraint for the upcoming AZRD bout, the clock was set to 20 minutes for the second half. We go into the second half with the same way we went into the first, Helen Wheels against Cheap Ore. In the next jam, Cookie Cutter takes on Dirty Terry, and Dirty Terry plows through the pack and then comes around the pack again, picks up 4 and calls it off. 52-43 Copper Queens. Bad Betty takes on Ferocious Oxide, but Bad Betty is not going too far, courtesy of Dirty Terry. Check out this hit in turn 1 where Dirty Terry gives a real good sliding hit right on Bad Betty. Betty never breaks, and the Copper Queens pick up 3. With the score 63-49 Copper Queens and 10 minutes remaining, Ms. Nashty takes on Pixie Axe. Ms. Nashty gets a whip from Helen Wheels and then goes into overdrive, giving Tucson a taste of their own speed. Nash was speed racer until this butt slide in turn 3, but she had already done a lot of damage by picking up 10 points. Bruisers are within 4 now. 3 minutes remaining, 66-59 Copper Queens, and here's Helen Wheels ready to take on Dirty Terry. Helen breaks but does not get lead jam, but then Dirty Terry gets sent to the box, and then another Copper Queen gets sent to the box. This is the break that the Bruisers have been looking for. Helen Wheels was on top of the situation with a fantastic 9-point jam, putting the Bruisers back in the lead 68-66. Final jam, and it's Bad Betty to take on Cheap Ore. Watch carefully as Redhead Revolver of the Bruisers tries to avoid Cheap Ore. While trying to do that, Bad Betty tries to come in on her left side and gets Red's wrist right in the face, and then gets hip checked by a Copper Queen blocker, sending Betty to the Tucson bench and literally out the door. Cheap Ore eventually picks up the lead jam, passes a couple Bruisers, and calls it. As the sun starts to set over Casey's, this scrimmage ends with a 68-68 tie. What a great scrimmage this was for both teams. We're looking forward to seeing the Bruisers again in February and the Copper Queens in March. All right, let's give it up for Copper Queens. Woo!
Tie ball game.
So, how do you like it? How was that? I mean,
Bruisers rock, baby.
Yeah.
Copper Queens are the bomb.
the Arizona Bruisers have told the AZDR that there will be more home and travel bouts that will be coming up. Remember to look for news at michi-chan.com. Here's the latest from Arizona Derby Dames. On January 26th, the league held its season opener mini bout. The Brutal Beauties swept that bout by beating the Coffin Draggers 41-11, the Bombshells 48-5, the Scrappers 29-20, and the Runaway Brides 22-9. The drag queen representing the Brutal Beauties also won the drag queen race. Let's look at the current rosters for each team. For the Beauties, not much change here. Look out for rookie Rogue Kill, fresh over here from AZRD. She definitely showed some promise at the mini bout. For the Scrappers, many of the familiar faces are still here. Chuck Bearings is back from her suspension. I am keeping a watch on rookie skater Perfecta Kill. She took a nasty hit by Sally Wacker and stood up like a brick wall. For the new Runaway Brides, look at this lineup. This is definitely not a typical expansion team like the 2007 Scrappers. Look out for rookie Stiletto Wheels. For the Coffin Draggers, many of their notable skaters are gone or have moved to other teams. The Draggers were always traditionally a lower scoring team, and they'll need to improve on their jamming if they want to make it this year. I know they've been focusing on their jammers and their speed. For the Bombshells, look out for Hippie's Revenge, another fresh start from AZRD. Some of the changes for this year include all regulation bouts and the playoff bout will be double headers. Periods will be 15 minutes long. Jams are still 90 seconds with the clock stopped between each jam. With all these changes, ticket prices will remain $8 in advance and $10 at the door. And there will also be a new front row VIP seating option available online for $15. My predictions for this year: in fifth, I'm saying Bombshells, mainly because they are skating short and they've lost a lot of good folks. They definitely need to ramp themselves up. In fourth, the Coffin Draggers. As I mentioned, they are a very low-scoring team, and points may be the tiebreaker for playoff positioning this year. In third, the Runaway Brides. There's just something about this team that's going to surprise me this year. In second, the Scrappers. I think the focus is still there, and as you saw in the latter part of the season, they were definitely not the same team in April. In first, of course, the Brutal Beauties. As you can see, I'm predicting a 3-1 record for the Pink, and I think their loss is going to be to the Scrappers. Championship bout? Let's say Beauties versus Scrappers. Stay tuned. Coming up, those amazing kids in Tucson are getting even younger.